Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world away from the numbers.
Hello and welcome to episode 270 of the AFTN podcast. I am still a free agent, Joe DC. I am joined by Gideon Hill, the voice of TSS Rovers and UBC Soccer, calling in from Surrey. He said if Andy Carroll had real knees, he would be better than Harry Kane.
Hey guys, nice to be back on the show.
You can confirm that statement's true, Gideon?
You know what? I think it's true, you know. Harry Kane doesn't get enough credit, but Andy Carroll is the man, the legend. Even more than Scott Sterling, I'll tell you that much.
That won't be the most controversial thing that you're going to say on this show. Across from him is AFTN writer. He has a wall for a free kick, no matter how far away it is. It's Nicholas Rupert.
Yep, hello.
So, gentlemen, today's opening question. It's been quite a full week of Whitecaps stuff, but we're just going to change the gear up a little bit. If you could pick one MLS player to partner you in a bank robbery, who would you go with, Nick?
I would go with Dax McCarty because he's a good setup guy.
Keeps it simple.
He keeps it simple, and I think if we're doing a two-man bank robbery,
you need good communication.
You need
as well.
good communication as well.
Gideon, who do you go for?
Wouldn't his hair give it away, though? Wouldn't McCarty's hair give it away?
No, if Bastian Schweinsteiger was there, he would give it away.
Playing sweeper or whatever.
Gideon, who's your bank robber partner? David Villa.
Because he always seems to sneak in and snag something.
All right. I went for a different approach, as I always do. You need power, just brute force. Mm-hmm. So Lala Abubakar, just to power through, and he can break down any bank vault. Yeah. That comes in his
path.
path.
Talk about hair, too.
Yeah, true.
Good hair.
It would block the security cameras that would be trying to pick us up. He wouldn't need a mask. Okay, now that we've broken the ice, let's go to part one of our show. We always start the show. Now that Gideon's back, we can get back to our regular format.
I know.
None of that reviewing nonsense that they do on Sunday's show.
What is that?
It felt so unnatural last week for us to do that.
So forced.
More forced than 3-5-2 for the Whitecaps. So we're going to complete the sentences. Part one of our show. So sentence number 1. I feel blank that the Caps have tied the last 3 games 2-2. Gideon.
I feel satisfied that the Caps have tied the last 3 games 2-2.
Okay. Nick?
Conflicted.
I'm like,
it's good that they're scoring.
Yeah.
But it's not good that they're giving up goals.
That's quite far away from satisfied, though.
Yeah.
It's like a big kind of. I'm kind of excited that 2-2 is like a fun scoreline. If you see a game, if there's a game that you didn't watch and it was 2-2, you'd be like, oh, that was probably a fun game. Mm-hmm. Right? It sucks that we got like 1 point per game in the last 3 games. But anyway,
you were saying earlier we could have won one.
Yeah, we could have won one game and lost the other 2 and have the same amount of points.
Yeah, basically, same outcome.
That's like a few years ago they changed a win from 2 points to 3 points.
I'm pretty sure that was more than a few years ago.
Oh, a long time ago, obviously.
But how old are you, Joe?
No. But no, like that was a big consequence of that. I think it was to motivate teams to go at it to
be
a bit
more attacking.
Yeah,
it was.
Okay, sentence number 2. I know that the Caps are blank. Nick?
Mid-table?
Mid-table. Gideon, I know that the Caps are...
Mediocre and improving.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, improving. I went on the record last week saying that the Caps are not at rock bottom yet, so I'm kind of against that opinion. I'm going to say I know that the Caps are inconsistent. Just dodging the question entirely. Blank does not get enough credit. Gideon?
I think Robo does not get enough credit right now as people are harping on him for the 2-2 draws, but he's set up the teams well. He hasn't lost the games. He's rotated smartly, and I think he's got the job done the past couple weeks.
Okay. Nick?
I would agree with what Gideon said, but I would go specifically with maybe Blondell.
Okay.
I mean...
Especially last game.
Especially last game. I mean, his pressure forced those 2 errors, and
I'm gonna go with
especially the first.
I'm gonna go with Aha doesn't get enough credit. It's been a really good staple back there. Like the centre back
have to be huge too.
Well, the centre back discussion isn't even a discussion anymore because of him, right? Anyway, that's reviewing stuff. We don't do that here.
We try not to do that.
Not here at AFTN Studios, aka Joe's house. We're looking ahead, and unless I've Googled incorrectly, the Whitecaps play New England next Saturday. New England, a new manager, Brad Friedel.
Yeah.
Blackburn legend, I guess. Who else did he play for?
United States men's team legend, for sure.
Yeah, / Fox analyst, ex-Fox analyst.
Yeah. And a notable egg, like a notable baldy. I think he's done pretty well since coming in.
Oh, yeah.
I really didn't know what to expect. It hit me as kind of a surprise, and it wasn't until I saw an interview during the off season of him talking about like his philosophies that I kind of thought, I could see you being a good manager, right? They're doing okay. They're 5-4-2 to start the season.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think New England earlier last year was kind of a complete mess.
Yeah, so they had the whole Lee Win thing. God, we got to learn how to say that name on this podcast.
We have to learn how to say names in general.
In general, yeah. We'll come
Jor, and Gideon.
We'll come an hour before each recording and brief all the names.
Yeah.
But they've been doing quite well, Gideon. What do you think of their start to the season so far?
Yeah, it's a little surprising given they lost Kamara and Lee Win. Notable, obviously, there's also other players, but how many times have we seen coaches that used to play or players that used to play come in to coach MLS and just also around the world? It's pretty cool to see a new regime of coaches who used to be players come in and find success as well, which isn't normally something that ex-players do in their first year.
That's a good point because a lot of coaches come in who were like recently players and they just completely
bottle it.
It just doesn't work. But it seems to be doing okay so far. Like
maybe he has that distance, that maturity.
Yeah,
right?
He was noted as a player for being really calm and very professional. He played I think he was almost 40 when he played his last game for Spurs. I think.
And I think what helped him was not going right from the game right to managing. It was him going right to TV, seeing everything else kind of from around the league and being all the different stadiums and atmospheres and kind of knowing that and kind of bottling that up into his coaching style.
Mm-hmm. And he talked, in that interview I mentioned earlier, he talked a lot about his having the right group with him. I think he knows it's not all about just him being the guy, but also having a team of people that helps him succeed.
Yeah, well, people need to buy into whatever you're selling, right?
I think he coached at youth level, like for the U.S. national team as well. New England currently on 17 points, 6th in the East. They are just above the playoff line, which is better than I thought they would be doing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, underneath them is Philly, Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, and DC United. Like, those are... I don't think New England will stay there all season, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finished inside the playoffs.
No, yeah, especially they were a tire fire, basically.
Yeah.
And this is a good turnaround for them. But that's the MLS, right?
Yeah.
You can be on top of the world one year and almost bottom this year, right?
Well, speaking of not doing so great, their last 3 games, they've lost 2 of them. They were Montreal was one team that they lost to, who are way underneath them in the standings, and then Columbus was the other one. But Columbus doing pretty well. They're 3rd right now in the East, but they did beat TFC 3-2. Gideon, what are your thoughts on that list of games there?
Yeah, I think beating TFC was key for them, especially. I mean, albeit TFC's missing a few bodies right now, but I think it's good for them to get that confidence to beat an MLS Cup chance. It kind of gives everybody a kick in the rear when you beat the champs from the year before. And again, losing to Columbus and Montreal, not really what you want to do, losing to Montreal given where they are again in the standings, but Columbus, a tight game, a fun one to watch as well, and a tight 1-0 loss for the Revs.
Nick, your quick thoughts on Montreal. They're 3 wins and 9 losses under Remy Gard so far this season.
Yeah, I think this is perhaps a case of maybe it's a foreign manager coming in. Yeah. I think there's 2 things. There's 2 things that I would pinpoint. One, it's a foreign manager coming in. Perhaps not really understanding the situation in MLS.
We'll call that the Owen Coyle effect. Could continue. Yes.
Maybe the third thing is, maybe it's just me, but I get this feeling that I feel like you can't. Piatti is aging, and he's been their superstar.
There's rumors today that Piatti might be on the move.
Yeah, and he might be a little bit disconcerted because of that, but also he's aging, right?
Yeah.
So, and I feel like a lot of that core of
true.
that team that went to the CCL finals is kind of aging out, and this is maybe the rough patch of the changing of the guard.
Yeah, could be. Just to bring it back to New England, who were playing, let's zoom in on their most recent game. They lost 1-0 to Columbus at home. Mm-hmm. Am I the only one who thinks New England have one of the weirdest home stadiums to look at on TV?
I don't think you're in the craft. Have not invested in their stadium.
Gideon, is that the same stadium that the New England Patriots play at?
Yeah, that is.
Oh, the Gillette Stadium. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Gillette Stadium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, apart from it being a weird place to watch a game, last week they played a 3-5-2. First time they've played it this season. It's probably safe to say it didn't work. Well, they lost 1-0 to Columbus.
But they only lost 1-0 on a set piece. So that's not really a fault of your formation.
The aforementioned Abubakar scoring the goal. Yeah.
That's a fault of your marking, in a sense, during the set piece. So I don't think you can blame the formation that they trotted out. I think it was maybe a smart adjustment because...
But I'm looking at their center backs right now, and they are not 3 at the back. Andrew Farrell, maybe. He's quite athletic, but Annie Baba, who we know all too well from playing for Seattle before, I don't think he's cut out to be more to have a lot of intense defending to do,
One-on-one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and especially with Zardes for Columbus up front and Higuain and the Artur in midfield, it just didn't seem. There must have been a reason why he played it. Maybe he wanted to pack the midfield or something like that, or get 2 up front because Teal Bunbury is having a renaissance season. I think he's our leading goal scorer with 5 goals right now. But I think it. Would you guys agree with me in saying that he will not play a 3-5-2 away from home in Vancouver?
I don't. Well, maybe though, because if you know the Caps game plan, which we all do, it might not be a bad idea to pack the box with three heads, right? And just let them.
I can see why you'd want to play 2 up front against this Whitecaps defense, but you would have to give up if you play the 3-5-2. You're giving up the wings a lot, right? And the only way forward for the Whitecaps is on the wing. So I don't think that would be if Brad Friedel does his homework. I don't think he plays a 3-5-2 against the Whitecaps. Gideon, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of difficult choosing between both of you, but I wouldn't be surprised if they trotted out a 3-5-2. Only 1-0 loss to Columbus on the set pieces Nick mentioned, so there's positives to draw from that again. But 3-5-2, there's going to be lots of gaps in behind, especially for Davies and Teixeira if he does play.
Yeah, but Gideon, they would own the midfield if they played a 3-5-2.
And that's exactly the same thing you saw with San Jose when they came in here last week. They played 5 at the back, and they still, controlled most of the possession. And
Houston would be
this year, been shut out.
Houston would be a better example because they completely dominated the Whitecaps midfield. It wasn't even a battle in there.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Gideon? You think you could see them playing a 3-5-2? You said, or
I could see them. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they played a 3-5-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other formation they default to is a 4-1-4-1, which
is great.
Yeah, they would double up on the wings, have a triangle in midfield that they could do stuff, but they don't play well with one striker. They would have to play Teal Bunbury up there, who, like I said, is having quite a good season. He leads our scoring with 5 goals. Pinea is behind him with 4. And then Diego Fagundes, who is having a fantastic season as well in that attacking midfield role. I had his key passing stats earlier, because on this podcast, we love a key pass. He's 3.4 key passes a game, Nick.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That guy is making chances.
He is making chances. What if you had to describe his role on the team, what would you say
He's all, because like originally when he was, like from what I remember watching him before, he was almost like more of a second striker.
Yeah, and on the wing.
Player. And on the wing, and he would cut in.
Yeah.
But now it's exciting because hasn't he played for the American men's team?
I think he might have.
I think he's been called up for a couple of maybe like Gold Cups.
He's in that sphere of
like being on the bench. And America doesn't really have that like locked in number.
They thought it was mixed disc group for a bit, but it wasn't
right now. Well, I mean, there's Pusilic.
But he can play on the left too.
He can play on the left, and he's probably better on the wing. So, like, it's interesting. I think he's more of, like, kind of a floating, roaming kind of playmaker in that sense.
Which is always
given license.
Which is always hard to play against.
Yeah. He's. I feel like this year he's maybe being given more license to be creative, to try the pass. Yeah. You know?
Another strong position that I would say New England have is in central midfield. They have like in the more defensive role, Zahibo is their more defensive kind of destroyer, French player, and as well as Kellen Rowe, who we accidentally discussed last week because we forgot Brian Rowe's first name. Yeah, him in the central midfield. Gideon, what are your thoughts on that central midfield area?
Yeah, I think Zahibo's been a great signing for them. He's got on the score sheet. And you also have Scott Caldwell as well. Can't forget him. He's been solid for them the past couple of years. And I think they have a good attacking midfield as well as defensive midfield. That's what their record is right now.
And Chris Tierney too, who's been around for a while. Just all these players
he can deliver a set piece.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely. All these players just seem to be consistently performing. Just solid, right, Gideon?
Yeah, and I think that's the key to their success. Talking about Fagundes, he was the man in New England before Kamara and Wynn came in. And then when they left, he's the man again, and that just shows you, the backbone of the team they've had. They've had success. They went to an MLS Cup final. They're a good team, and I think they've had a couple rough years, but I think they're back in the top 6 of Eastern Conference.
Yeah, Fagundes wasn't in the 18 against Columbus. I'm not sure if that's injury related, but him being in the team and not being in the team will make a big difference in this game.
Yeah. I think they will lack, obviously, as we talked about with the key pass stat, they will lack creativity going forward if he's not there.
And despite losing key players like Gideon mentioned earlier, like Lee Win and Kai Kamara in the offseason, they just seem to just keep trucking on, right?
I think they had an underrated depth.
Yeah.
And they had good signings.
And they brought back Christian Nemeth, but he hasn't been playing that much. I'm not sure why. He was amazing for Kansas, yeah, when he played before. So
I just think they made the right. I was just going to say, I think they brought Field in at the right time, and he's made good signings for having a lot of time in charge. That's why they're finding success.
Okay. Any last thoughts before we move on to the next part of our show about New England? What can we expect from them? Do you think they're going to sit back a bit more, or maybe go for it? Away from home, they've not been that great. So
I think they're going to sit back.
Yeah,
I think they're going to sit back. I mean,
a 4-1-4-1 makes sense to me if I was Brad Friedel right now. But that's because I know the Whitecaps' weaknesses. So I'm not sure how much he probably does know about that. Gideon, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to sit, but I've seen Panizia, their winger, the new guy, play as well as Fagundes, and those wingers are very dangerous. I think they're going to sit back and pressure the Whitecaps outside backs, whoever they may be.
Very good. Well, that was our preview, for the New England Revolution coming to town on Saturday. I believe the game is at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yes,
it is. It's been a long time since we've done the next part of the show. Too long, some would say. I thought about doing it with just Nick, but then there'd be so much dead air that it's probably a bad idea.
Nick has lost all of the games.
We need to. Okay, let's get the intro music out of the way before we explain even more. It's time for Do You Know Who I Am? Okay, gentlemen, do you know who I am? Who knows what the standings are? Because I've forgotten. Let me write it down.
You're supposed to write.
I'm too invested.
I know
I'm
there's.
so excited for doing
I'm
I
pretty
know.
sure Gideon is on.
I'm too giddy. I think it's
Gideon
5-4 to Gideon or something. Right?
and
Does that sound
one for-
right, Gideon?
Yeah.
Okay, I've written it down.
5-4-1. Yeah.
I've written it
It's
down.
official
It's
now.
not going anywhere. Okay.
Official.
This week's Do You Know Who I Am is going to be a little bit different. Okay. Challenging you all intellectually
Oh, boy.
and spiritually as well.
What does that even mean, Joe?
Okay, clue number 1 for this week's Do You Know Who I Am? Remember to say stop. It's been a while. Just refreshing you on the rules. Okay, clue number 1. My MLS team has the most representatives at the 2018 World Cup, of which I am one.
Stop.
Okay?
I was going to say LAFC. Walker Zimmerman?
No.
Okay.
U.S. is not going to the
Yeah,
World
U.S.
Cup.
isn't going to the World Cup, Gideon.
Oh, sorry.
That was a Maynor Figueroa own goal. Right there. Okay? Nick, you want to take a guess while we're here?
Most going to the World Cup. Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'll pass.
Okay.
I'll pass. I got nothing so far.
Clue number 2. I have 67 caps for my country.
Ooh.
Stop. Carlos Vela?
It is Carlos Vela. Gideon on fire. On fire.
It's a game of form.
I'm
It's a
writing
game of form.
down Gideon 6, Nick 4, so I don't forget this triumphant moment. I had so many other clues. I started my career at Arsenal. I played for Real Sociedad and the mighty West Bromwich Albion, of course.
R.I.P.
I have the Spanish passport, is something I found randomly, and I play as a forward. I am Carlos Vela. Congratulations, Gideon. Well done.
I think you made up for my own goal by Zimmerman there.
Yeah. I was like, is Zimmerman German or did I miss something?
He somehow got picked up by the German team.
Yeah, if you have time, go look at the team you can put together of German players who are not going to the World Cup.
It's pretty good.
It's
probably.
pretty
so
ridiculous.
good, though.
Yeah, like Mario Götze isn't even in this squad.
Yeah, I know. And
He scored the winning goal in the last
World Cup. Yeah.
All right, that was this week's Do You Know Who I Am?
Hi guys, this is Felipe. Thanks for listening AFTN.
Welcome back to episode 270 of the AFTN podcast. Gideon just knocked it out of the park with that Do You Know Who I Am?
First he screwed up.
First he screwed up, yeah. It was the ultimate redemption story.
Ultimate redemption.
Nick is still wiping away his tears.
Yeah.
Now we go to the more informative part of the show, I think. The Whitecaps preview. So, the Whitecaps.
The Whitecaps.
It was a fun game last week.
It was enjoyable. I mean, it was interesting.
I almost tore my hair out, but it was fun. It was a good comeback, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 2 goals in the last, 20 minutes or so?
Yeah. Gideon, what do you think? Good comeback or just a gong show that they saved themselves from?
I'm happy they drew, but I think in the first place, just credit to Dallas for playing good first, 75, 80 minutes. And I think the Caps deserve coming back, but I think they probably should have snagged something even, before they tied the game.
Yeah. The goals are finally coming. Why is that happening?
The goals in Dallas, at least, were, I think, 2 things. The goals that we've seen recently is it's showing that there's kind of a plan B happening.
Finally, yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of Felipe
Yeah.
and a little bit of Reyna,
Yeah.
I think working together to make that pass before the pass start happening.
Gideon, what's your explanation?
Of note, I think we've seen, I don't want to, knock on wood, but I think we've seen the turn of the page for Reyna right now. After the game against San Jose, just being there, see him drop deeper, battle for the ball, get it off the defender, not just waiting to get the pass. I think that was fantastic. And again, Felipe with those assists this year, he's been a great pickup. It's kind of gone unnoticed with the frustration of Tim Parker leaving. And I think it's just the strikers getting good positions, not getting lucky, because I think the Caps have worked hard for what they've gotten, but I think just overall players are turning a page, and it's looking like a more attacking / defend as a unit team than we did earlier in the season.
I think the fact that there's now a threat at the top of the box is making a huge difference. Because we talked a lot before about how it's only on the wings that the Whitecaps have a threat.
Yeah, there was no one in zone 14 at the top of the box.
Yeah, so that was really important that Reyna and Felipe are kind of doing a bit more there. Like that through ball that Reyna played to Teixeira, like against San Jose, was like
exactly what you want. Exactly the plan B that you need.
Exactly.
Like, something different.
The Caps have gone through kind of a transformation recently. Like we've seen them going from, I'm going way back, but like when Pedro Morales was here, a more penetrative team, very direct on the counter, things like that. Now they've kind of, other things have gone on, but they've slowly gone to this more bunkering down. And then last season was our ultimate bunker team, right?
Yeah.
And then now we're kind of trying something else. Are you guys enjoying this evolutionary process, or do you not like what the Caps have kind of become?
I mean, obviously you would prefer your team just to win, but it's interesting to see how it's unfolding, and it will be interesting to see what's this final outcome. Like, what is because I don't feel like the Caps have actually produced the final outcome of this evolution.
No.
As you say.
But, Gideon, do you think it's going towards something, or is it just kind of happening to the Whitecaps?
I think it is going towards something, and it has to. If you have a same playing style for a team for 5-6 years straight, you're going to get picked apart. And I think the Caps chose to change their playing style and their playing personnel at the right time and in a positive way. And I think that's why right now they're finding success. And I think they're going to continue to find success this year and getting some wins instead of draws.
That's a good point, actually. I never thought the Caps haven't stagnated a style. They move on, kind of
evolving,
morphing. But I think it's player based, though.
Is it player based?
I think it is. I think it's player
results based.
I think it's player based.
No, player based, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we pick up more gritty players that play this kind of style, right? And before we had more flair players like Pedro Morales and you could go back to Sebastian Fernandez and players like that who were a bit more passy. But yeah, maybe it's too. But I feel it's too big of a blanket statement to say it's completely player based.
Part of it has to be a natural evolution of the team from the results, right?
Yeah,
because
but the results haven't changed. The Caps are still haven't reached a conference final or anything like that.
True, but then they're also not at the bottom of the West, right?
They haven't been there since like a couple of years ago. Yeah, and only once in the last while, right? Usually been a playoff
bound team or fighting for a playoff spot anyway.
Well, okay. Talking about this game though, on paper it looks pretty even. Like New England have the slight edge in the numbers, but the Caps are kind of turned a page on a really bad period of the season. Do you guys think it'll look like a more of an even game, or is it going to tilt one way?
I think what the Caps really need is they've had a bunch of draws. They need to show that
they can win a game.
They can win a game, right? Like we know you can draw, but you can't draw your way into the playoffs.
So 2-2 then, Gideon?
I you know what? I sure hope not. I'm going to the game on Saturday after watching my Liverpool team play in the Champions League final, but I think this is honestly at this point of the season, it's a statement game for the Whitecaps. They're playing a team, Eastern Conference team that's having a good year. You want to get off the draw train and get back on the winning train. But Gideon, I think if they lose this game, it's going to be a really tough pill to swallow. Go ahead, Nick or Joe.
You could have said that about the Houston game, about the San Jose game. Like all these games seem to be turning points.
But the difference between those games is they suddenly switch the style in those games to the 4-4-2.
Yeah.
So has to be, if you're switching your style to the 4-4-2, there has to be some leeway for learning.
But the Whitecaps fans don't give.
Are fans fickle? Of course. That's the purpose of being a fan.
Yeah.
You're not. You demand perfection.
I don't know about you guys.
Of course.
I've liked the 4-4-2. I just don't like how exposed it makes our midfield though.
Yeah, and
you can work around it by just hoiking the ball over the midfield every time, just bypassing it.
But then that kind of does play into the Whitecaps' strengths in central defense,
absolutely.
Right?
But against a team like New England, sure, that might work pretty well. But then you're gonna eventually. My problem is eventually you're gonna meet a team that can hold on to the ball in the midfield. Like when we played LA, Perry Kitchen just held off the whole Caps team by himself because they weren't doing exactly that long ball kind of thing. They were trying to get it out wide, and he was just destroying. Right? I don't know. I think I like that we have another plan, but I think we should be able to switch back to the old plan when needed.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, but I would prefer you have two plans and go simultaneously. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous just to be like, okay, we're switching to this new plan and this is what we're doing only.
Yeah.
Because again,
Pep Guardiola has no plan B.
Well, fair.
Wait, you're saying Robbo is not Pep Guardiola? Gideon, what are your thoughts on this hot take?
I love it. I was just going to say before we kind of got off to this preview thing is that when have we ever had the Whitecaps point of view? When have we had a successful, 3-game and 8-day stretch where we haven't lost one of the games where we haven't, we didn't win obviously, but we drew, and I think that's helpful for us to, win or draw 3 games in 8 days. Pretty, especially given the travel as well. That's just my hot take.
But I think of the last, including this game, 4 games, 3 of them have been at home. And if the Caps don't win this one, they'll have not won at home in ages, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the fan base needs these 3 points as much as the players do.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into the playoffs and your road form is not that great, you need to start getting results at home.
Yeah, which the Caps have done before, but it's like this evolution that we've been talking about. It's kind of fallen by the wayside. Okay, let's talk about some individual players that we've been meaning to discuss for a while. Brian Rowe has come in for Marinovic. His injury, I don't know if there's information out there about how long he'll be out for. Gideon, what do you think? Has he been okay since he came in for the last 2 games?
I think he's done well for being kind of thrust into a starting role with Marinovic injured. Obviously not the way he wanted to be in the net, as he probably wanted to play his way in and get over Marinovic, but I mean, he's taken advantage of it. He hasn't really made an incredibly glaring mistake. He's made a couple that maybe, he could have stopped, but I think he's done pretty well for, a good backup, and thankfully we picked to row up as we could have another goalie in place of Brian Rowe rather than an established keeper like the former LA Galaxy man.
Nick, you've brought it up to me, not on the podcast before, about his distribution being quite good.
I think his distribution is better.
Yeah. Than Marinovic?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would need to look at some stats to back that up. But my eye test, my eyeballs suggest that, I like his distribution that he's giving from the back. I think that he's not made any, I don't think he's made any obvious errors, but at the same time, he hasn't made any game.
There was one really good save in Dallas. I forget the circumstance, but I remember thinking, wow, that was a big save. But not as many as Marinovic would.
Exactly.
Or even Usted back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's solid.
I think
the player behind him is Sean Melvin. So, do you want to thrust a young player like that into this kind of situation? I think it was good that we picked him up. I was skeptical when they did it in the offseason, to be honest.
I think it was a good pickup.
Yeah. Like a player,
I have
good
no
MLS
problem
player.
with him. I think he's at the back. He's solid.
Yeah, great hair too. Waston's going off to the World Cup soon. Will the Caps have to adjust anything while they're gone, Gideon?
No. Why, if Jose Aja's comfortable and he's playing well, why would you, I don't see a reason for you to change playing style just because his defensive partner is gone. I think you just put Armand in there, and if they don't find success, then you change it. But I just think changing it right away is not going to really benefit Jose Aja or the Whitecaps defense at all.
Nick, you think it's Mond going in there?
I think it's Mond going in here, there, especially because Daniil Henry is your other really your.
But he did pick up an injury recently, and he went for a scan, and I'm not sure if he's actually available to play.
Okay.
So
do we have any center back depth really?
It would be Mond, and De Jong could play in there,
but do you
not
really
not
want
well.
playing in center back?
Who is our other center back?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where is our center back depth now?
Gideon, can you rack your brains? Who's the other center back on this team? Gazal could play there.
No, I wouldn't put Gazal. I mean, Juarez, if you really were desperate.
Are you serious?
Juarez could.
You said rack my brain. That's just rack that.
You have to do more defending in center back than full back, right? And we all saw what happened in that game when he got sent off.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know.
That's actually a concern for me.
We're one injury away from having a bad time there at that center back position.
That's not good. That is not good.
But if all things go well, it'll be Mond and Aha.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
And Mond wasn't terrible when he played at the start of the season.
Yeah, but then Aha claimed his space.
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
Doing a good job.
And he is underrated, as I said before. So Caps home games. Let's go a bit more general now. Whitecaps home games they're a fun experience. I don't know how many we've been to, like, collectively, probably a huge bunch. But what is your least favorite thing about the Whitecaps home experience? I have a very distinct answer. Mine is the song "White Is the Color," because it drives me crazy. First of all, because it's a knockoff of "Blue Is the Color" by Chelsea, and I'm not a Chelsea fan to begin with, so it already irks me. And then I'm not going to even go down this rabbit hole. Gideon, quick, get your answer in there.
Spike.
Boo, Gideon.
Spike's ring.
I'm kidding. I think right now it's probably the frustration of not being able to win games at home is what the least favorite thing about Whitecaps home games for me is right now.
Does Spike talk? That's it.
Well, you got to go up and ask him next time you see him.
He was near our bachelor party.
Yeah.
And we sang "Happy Birthday" for someone.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Gideon, what about you? Or sorry, Nick, what about you?
I would agree with Gideon. It's the frustration of home form, and I think maybe it's just my mentality. Maybe it's just my emotions clouding me. But I feel like the Whitecaps have always struggled at home. For
I wouldn't say always.
Well, remember the Canadian Championship that they lost.
Like when Will Johnson scored that last
score.
You're going way back.
I'm going way but back. This is what I mean. But maybe this is just made an emotional.
That's one result.
But still, I feel like maybe this year especially, it's been.
There was a time where home was
it just boils down to evolution process. You're changing your style. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the stadium, BC Place isn't a patient stadium. Like, the fans get frustrated really easily.
That's true.
And people actually get angry in the South Side and things like that, right? Like, I get the whole evolution thing, but you still need to get results. Like, a season is a long time, you need to perform well in one season. I'm not saying that this season isn't even the worst season the Caps have had in the last 3 or 4 years, right?
I think it's just people's expectations are much higher because the Caps have been getting into the playoffs multiple times. They're
kind of the Washington Capitals of the MLS.
They want to see
they can't get past a certain point.
Good comparison. I like it.
Yeah. Well, this season the Capitals they bring it to Game 7 of the conference finals, but the Caps seem to have a glass ceiling.
Well, how come you have that glass ceiling then? That's a good question.
It could be a lot of things. Like, we could not have the depth or the talent to reach there, but it could be that this organization isn't built to achieve at that level, but is built to exceed the expectations of a lower tier of expectations. We can all agree that I'll say for myself, if the Whitecaps win the MLS Cup, it'll probably be the most positive sport experience I'll ever have, because I'm a Manchester United fan, but I've been following them for a lot longer than the Whitecaps, but I feel so much closer to the Whitecaps because
you live here.
I live here, and I'm kind of involved, and I go to games and things like that. But I just don't think the Caps are built to do that. Toronto FC were built to win the MLS Cup, right? Yeah. Atlanta are built to dominate this league and things like that. But the Caps they're just not, and that's not okay with me. It just deep down it doesn't sit very nicely with me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that whole spiel?
Maybe it's because you come from that whole Manchester United thing,
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying,
Sir Alex Ferguson retiring was the worst day of my life.
You have an expectation. Your expectation is that my team needs to win, right?
Well,
let's be honest.
No, but I know that the Whitecaps won't win, but I still support them. I know they won't win.
But your expectation is that they should.
But
win.
there are people a lot more angry than me at how the Caps are doing. I'm not resigned about it or anything. But I understand why it's kind of going on, and I don't think I expect them to win. I would like them to win, and Manchester United haven't won anything significant in the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm still watching every game, getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning to watch those matches. So I don't know. There's something there. Maybe I've watched my team win a lot, and
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Whitecaps win. Gideon, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to draw back, on a tough result that happened in the Canadian Championship years ago. But, I think it's frustrating for some fans to watch the team draw or lose at home, especially when you're paying good money to see a team play.
Well, consistently, right? It's consistently going on, like nonstop. Like the last few weeks have just been like compoundingly disappointing, right?
Yeah, and and in that sense, it's tough for a fan, season tickets or the Southsiders or what have you. It's tough for them to watch, and I think that's why people are kind of finding it hard to support the team right now. But I honestly don't see a reason not to. They're a good team. They're scoring goals, as you said. A draw is better than a loss.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason to be happy right now, and a big game on Saturday, and especially probably a little bit more fan base with the Champions League final being downtown. People can just drift on over the stadium. So I think it's going to be a big game on Saturday, and can only look to that right now.
Can't wait for Real Madrid to wrap that up. Last thing we'll discuss for the Whitecaps: set pieces are back, right, Nick?
Yeah, I think so.
It's been looking pretty good.
They have a lot more interesting variation, I would say, in them.
There was a couple of short ones, right?
There was a couple of short ones. They have, surprising ones, like play a short ball to Waston's feet.
Yeah, that was great. That was fantastic.
Not expected.
Gideon, were you in this? You were not in the stadium for that goal, right? For the Waston to Aha. It was confusing. The goal went in, and Aha started celebrating, and half the stadium didn't know what was going on because no one expected it to happen. Okay, well, set pieces are a big part of the Whitecaps game, and I really hope they push on with this. Teixeira kind of seems to have turned a corner, Reina too, so maybe that's a big part of it. Let's go through the lineups, see what we can agree on. Before we keep going, formation choice, Nick?
I mean, I would imagine they're going to trot out that 4-4-1-1 or
4-4-2 hybrid. Yeah.
Hybrid kind of thing, kind of look.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Gideon?
4-2-3-1.
Okay. Left back, Gideon, who do you think?
That's a tough one. I think De Jong plays well at home. I think he's going to get back in there.
I want Levis in there. Or Levi.
Nothing against Levis or Levi. I don't know. I like Marcel De Jong in the last game against the Earthquakes.
He was amazing. Now that you say that, though. Ooh.
He's man of the match almost.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go with De Jong. You've convinced me, Gideon.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
He had 3 shots. Come on. Centre back, Nick?
I think...
Gotta play. Waston's still here, right?
Waston is still here. Aha.
Yeah, okay.
For sure. They've formed a good partnership. Keep it going.
Gideon, you concur?
Yes, I agree with the Dutchman.
And at right back?
I think it's going to be Nowitzki.
I would go Franklin myself.
I'd want to see Nerwinski again.
All right. So, Gideon, you said 4-2-3-1, right?
Yes.
Who are your 2 holding players?
Okay, Gazal for sure, and I think Tybert will most likely slide back in there. And if you know what, I'm going to say Gazal and Felipe.
Gazal and Felipe?
Yes.
What about Tybert?
Again, it has to do with my front 3 players. That's why I'm hesitant on Felipe there, because I think Reina's going to play attacking mid.
In my 4-4-2, it's Gazal and Felipe as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right.
And who's
Reina,
this?
Though?
So Reina is my second striker.
Yeah.
Beside Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
But is Reina your attacking midfielder then?
Yes.
And then Kamara up front?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a structural difference. So the 2 wings then? Nick?
Davies.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, Davies for sure.
On the left or the right?
Again, interchange.
I ran into Robbo at the TSS Rovers game, and I
suggested to him play him on the right.
I wish I did, but I didn't. I was gonna joke, but no, he's a nice guy, Robbo. He said some stuff about the Atlanta game that I can't say on the right. Okay, I want Davies on the right. I just can't get away from that. But okay, Davies on one of the wings, and on the other wing, it's a home game. Teixeira or Shea.
Teixeira.
Especially with the chemistry that he's shown that he can have with Reina.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Right. Shea is kind of an enigma right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he had
I feel like when he scores on the road, he starts the next game, but that's just me.
Who? Shea? Breck Shea?
Shea, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
But he's been, ever since he missed that sitter.
He's just not been good.
He's just been on a run of bad form.
Yeah.
And
At least our other wingers are kind of on form.
I mean, but you have to look at what is his purpose on this team. His purpose on this team
Well, that's deep.
is to come in when the team is in a tough spot
Yeah.
and be a finisher.
Is that his role on the team?
I feel like that's what he has good technique.
He's there to change up the wing play.
But he has good technique and he can finish a ball.
He can, but no, that's something that we accidentally discovered early in the season. But he's also like a utility left back when we need to attack, right? He's multi-purpose, right?
Yeah, he's
players are.
multi-purpose.
I don't think he's specifically a finisher. I just think he's a quality enough player that he can do that. Apart from when it's a tap in 5 yards from goal, you know.
He's a coverage for when wingers are playing bad. That's what I think he is.
I would agree, but he's on DP money, so let's not even get into that. All right, let's go to the final part of our show. It's the prediction game. Gideon did not join us last time for the prediction game because he was dressed up as a princess in Disney World. So Nick's 3 predictions. Oh, actually, Nick, we have something to talk about your predictions. You predicted 16 dribbles. For the Houston, there was 15.
Oof.
Just give it to him.
Wait, but he also predicted Ace Davies dribbles, and there was 7. So I think between those two, we'll give you 1 point because you were so close on both of them. You also said Marinovic would have 2 claims, but he was out with injury. Yeah. I said Levis would have an assist, Levi's would have an assist. No. Waston yellow card, no. And Kyoto goal didn't happen. So the season standings are Joe 10, Gideon 6. Nick 5. So Nick just moved up.
We're slowly creeping up.
Yeah.
Let's get Gideon's predictions for this week.
Okay, I think Brian Rowe will have 5 saves.
Okay.
I think Wilfred Zahibo of the Revolution is going to get a yellow card.
Zahibo yellow card, okay.
And Reina is going to have 3 key passes.
Ooh, nice. We love a key pass on this. Nick,
we love it.
Nick, your predictions?
I think Gazal will have 5 tackles.
Okay.
I think there will be. I think that you will have Felipe will get an assist.
Okay. He has like 6 or 5 this season, right? I think he does. I think he actually has 6 assists or 5 assists.
And then
Felipe?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he has I think 5 for sure. I don't know if it's 6 now.
Yeah.
And
just 5.
And then I think the Whitecaps will get a set piece goal.
Ooh, good.
Ooh.
I think Waston will get a yellow card. He's one away from a suspension, but he's going to the World Cup, so it doesn't.
So it doesn't care.
Doesn't matter. I think Davies will have less than 3 dribbles.
Ooh.
So that is okay because he usually has way more than 3 dribbles. And I think Anibaba will have a yellow card as well. Yeah. Nothing, I've gotten to this point of the table by just keeping it vanilla and doing those take it to the bank
just take
kind
it
of
the
stats.
easy ones, the easy throws.
Hey, I'm here to win, all right? The Caps could learn something from me. All right, so that's...
Well, you're still a free agent. So
I'm still a free agent. No
no
Summer League team has contacted me yet, so TSS Rovers, please get in touch. We can do a TSS Rovers update. They won their last game 3-1. Gideon and I were there.
Ooh. Yep.
It was a great game, wasn't it, Gideon?
Yeah, Nick a no-show again. Kind of shocking. No, it was a good game. Nick Sulzma getting on the score sheet. It was a great...
Sulzma was fantastic. When I was keeping the stats, they asked me to keep stats of loss of possession, right? And it was pretty well distributed. Like at halftime, everyone had around 4 or 5. Sulzma didn't give away the ball until almost past half an hour. And he played center forward, as a lone center forward. It was nuts. He's a fantastic addition to that team. It's always a good fun. Next game I think is June 1st.
June 1st against Calgary, the Calgary Foothills.
I'm missing that game. This can be a great game. Anyway, I'll watch it on YouTube. I'll watch you and Michael call the game and give you guys stats. I'll text you guys stats during the game. Okay. Where can we find you guys on Twitter, Nick?
Space Age Robot 56.
And Gideon?
At _ Gideon Hill on Twitter.
And you can find me at Joe DC Van, not Cheesy DZ anymore. Thank you very much for listening to the AFTN podcast, episode 270. We will be back hopefully next week to review the next Caps home game. There isn't a bye week for a long, long time, and we have so many ideas for bye weeks that we want to do. We have the full episode of Do You Know Who I Am's?
Terrible.
The MLS rabbit hole where you just go on Wikipedia and click through MLS content and just talk about it. Yeah, but there won't be a bye week for a long time. Gideon, any thoughts on a bye week content episode?
Nick, that all sounds delicious. I think we should do that sometime. A bye week in Intel.
Just 45 Do You Know Who I Am?
In a row.
I think it's a little much, but 15 each, I think we could swing it. It just feels a little easy after a while. But
if it's close at the end of the season, we might just do that. Yeah. Anyway,
true.
Caps play this Saturday at home against New England. Some of us will be at the game, some of us will not. Tweet at us if you're there. We didn't answer questions this time, but we will ask for questions next week, and they're always a lot of fun to answer. So again, thank you very much for listening to the AFTN podcast, and enjoy the game.
When you're listening in some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? You know, legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.